Well, let's move on. The way we talk about family, of course, as Christian believers, we talk about a husband and a wife and families that are all together in the sense of the Christian traditional foundation for families. And so all of these issues, when it comes to LGBT and the rest, they all have some impact. There's another issue going on in Western Australia, an all-ages drag show. Any thoughts here on the fact that there's these sorts of programs that are contrary to our Christian idea and understanding of family that are funded by taxpayers or ratepayers?
Yes, well, it's interesting that you put it that way. You talked about the concepts of marriage and so forth, because people might ask why, and I think it's very fair to ask, why on earth are drag queens interested in reading stories to children? Why are local councils, libraries like the City of Fremantle City Council in Western Australia, why are they interested in putting on these drag queen story times? And this is, it used to be drag queen story time for children. That has started to gain a lot of controversy. There have been protests. So I see that the Fremantle City Council has been a little bit more sophisticated by putting out a quote-unquote all ages drag queen story time. So in other words, basically parents can come with your little kids. Why are they interested in this? It is the most bizarre thing to most people, and I get that. But there's two words that I want to introduce listeners to that they may or may not have heard. One is heteronormativity, and the other one is queer normativity. The idea of heteronormativity is the idea that normal is boys are boys, girls are girls, and boys marry girls, boys and girls have children, and that's a family. It's that traditional notion of the heterosexual couple and what that means for society. And heteronormativity says that's normal and good and right and to be aspired to. Well, on the other hand, you have the idea that the activists talk about, which is queer normativity. And what that means is that they would like to change what is normal. They would like to change the way people think. They'd like to change what people embrace. They'd like to change what people decide is good and worth pursuing. And they say, no, what's good and worth pursuing and what's right and what people should think is normal is queer. In other words, this whole heterosexual thing, this marriage thing, this traditional family thing, it's somehow oppressive and it needs to be forgotten and destroyed. It's not even a category. It should just go. And people should be free to live as they please and do what they want in the area of their gender, who they marry, who they love, their sexualities, their families, whatever. It's just a free-for-all, and that's liberty and that's freedom. The whole point of drag queen story time, according to the inventors, is to promote queer normativity to children, is to change their minds, to put role models in front of them from the queer community, to change the way they think, to change what they think is normal. So I explain that as part of background as why this is going on. It is a political, ideological assault on kids. It's bad. So wherever people find these things are going on, they should register their protest with the relevant body. They should ring up, they should send messages, they should speak to them and say, look, this isn't good enough and I don't like that this is going on in my community. It is worth standing against.
In the worst case, it sexualizes children. In the best case, it confuses children. Somehow or other, we've got to be thinking as Christian believers about how we protect our children, shouldn't we?
Look, yes, absolutely. The first thing is that knowledge is power. And so understanding what's going on with these events is important. Also, I think, we have our National Director of Politics, Wendy Francis, who speaks on this show fairly regularly. She would make the point, too, that it really sends a gross caricature of what is a woman to children. The drag queens, when they dress up as women, quote unquote, they accentuate all the sexualized features of women and so forth. And it's really disgusting and degrading. So there's a lot not to like about this. And I think it's important that parents just are not naive towards it. So the first thing is don't send your own kids, of course, but, spread the word amongst your peers and make sure that this sort of content, which children, are drawn to because it's colourful, it's playful, but it's actually being worked into kids' shows. Blue's Clues did a whole queer episode not long ago, and I mean, this is a little kids' show about, finding someone's crayon and stuff like this. It's very, very simple and basic, but it was a full-on rainbow pride show. It's coming into kids' cartoons, and that's what this rainbow and fun and, happiness sort of motif that surrounds this. It's about normalising queer. And so parents need to be aware of the agenda, and they need to be watching out for it, not just in libraries, because you can easily walk around that and not go near it, but in kids' entertainment more and more and more. Just watch and be aware of what's going on there.